welcome everybody.
Welcome everybody. We are making another video of missing features from Data Studio, and as always, Thomas, Alex, and Ricardo.
Hi everybody.
We were talking a bit before the video started rolling that we spend a lot of hours a week for the last I don't know how many years working with
Drinking gin?
Data Studio.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Oh yeah, true. We didn't mention that. Now we're being sponsored.
But you don't say the sponsor.
We cannot say by which
By who?
company.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we spend a lot of time working with Data Studio, and I think there's a super amazing tool, allows you to get a lot of insight from data. It's free.
Yes.
It's intuitive to use, but we spend quite some time with it that I think there are some elements that just by making a small switch, I think would make life much easier for it. And we
So
made
especially if you are really then going into every detail of the tool, you then also realize missing features all the time. So there will be no state, no status where you say, okay, now it's the perfect tool. We will always miss something.
Exactly.
So yeah, and they still improve it a lot in a lot of ways. Nearly every week. Every week there is some new stuff inside. So that's really cool.
That is true. I mean, this is the second video of missing features that we make, and also maybe a year or a year and a half ago, we wrote a Medium post with missing features there.
Most of them.
And I think it also had quite a bit of traction there. Because that's the reality. Now we see the movement and it's very encouraging. It's also nice to be working with a tool that is not in absolute quiet about the updates. Like constantly they're getting new updates. You can check what Alex writes every month about updates on Data Studio and other Google products.
And for example, this missing feature blog post, I think it had, for example, the topic of embedded Google Maps.
True.
And that is now
Which is
possible.
solved now.
Yeah. So one example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google is listening to us.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, during the previous videos, we've mentioned a bit some elements that we think would be nice to see as a missing feature. But I think now we're going to a bit of larger elements that would make sense to have.
Data Studio API.
Yes. So we mentioned it already in the video before. So in the first missing features video. So we can start with that. Data Studio API. So currently, what is the current status? It has some kind of an API where you get the permissions for every account, for the Google account, for the report, if he can or she can edit it, view it, is she the owner, and so on. So that is possible for data sources and reports, I think. And that's it.
Yeah.
So
if you have a username, like an email address, you can get all the reports and all the data sources. And the other way around, if you have a report, you can get all the users, correct?
Yeah.
So this is already super good, cause.
And you can also change them. So you can also edit them.
You can not only get them, you can also update them, like post them. This is good. So what you can do inside the report, you can obviously see to whom is that basically report shared. What you cannot do is when you would like to know as an owner or as an admin of your workspace, for example, Alex, who or which videos are shared to Alex. Yeah, he can see it. You can see it in your basically Data Studio page, but no one else, like the owner or the admin, cannot see it. And this is something we changed with the API, that we basically have a Data Studio dashboard, which shows for every report, but also for every username, basically the sharing settings. And this is in some ways quite helpful if you're working with a little bit larger organization, because you need to stay basically, or it needs to be transparent. Otherwise, when someone is leaving a company or you need to reroute any owner rights and so on, it's not so easy if you don't have that. Another very important functionality is you have someone as a new joiner, like new employee in the company, and you would like to give them a set of Data Studio reports. So this is normally a little bit. So the situation is not that nice because you need to go to every single report. You need to have those reports somewhere as a link, and then share it to that particular person. That's why the API is quite useful, because you can say, okay, to a list of 20 reports, I would like to add this particular user, and then you push that to the API and it will be done automatically. We should think about to open source that.
I mean, I think I see the starting points of what could be there. I mean, if you go into google.datastudio.com, you see the list of all the dashboards that you have access, and you see on top like a list of templates or suggested dashboard of stuff. I see also the step to have something, and I think you're living in the Google workspace or Google environment. Everyone is used to sharing folders or sharing stuff. It would, in my head, be so logical to be able to make folders of dashboards and then be able to share that, and then like create a folder of marketing dashboards or introductory dashboards, and then you can have your like dashboards 101 for this company, and then when someone just share the folder, and that's it. And yes, then maybe that together with the API, you have automatically when these, you can just see who has access to what on a broader view. And then, of course, if you want permissions overview, you can contact us to get our dashboard that we made for that. Because that, I think that's a pretty cool solution.
Definitely is.
That we have. So this allows, like you said, to have this overview, but also we give this permission giver. No, so we have this option to create like with the list to see who gets access to which dashboards, and also see the dashboards that have been made. Because of course, if you make 5 dashboards, it's quite easy. Everyone just bookmarks them and everything. But when you reach, I think for some organizations, we've made over 60, 70 dashboards, and they all make sense. They all make sense for specific roles, but they're not unique for every person. No? It could be much easier if it was like access to a whole group is controlled from one way, and that would be nice. But who knows? Maybe that's a good feature to have. I think it would add like popularity to Data Studio. I see in other more trendy tools like Notion or Coda and all the stuff that they really go into these template galleries and stuff. Having this possibility of having a shared folder, I think would be super nice.
Yeah, definitely yes. Yeah. Maybe there's even a workaround with Drive, but I don't think so, right? Because for Data Studio you have no Drive element. You cannot do something.
But I mean, honestly, I don't know why they're not connected. Like, I think it's like, why can't you just put a link to a Data Studio dashboard within a Drive folder?
Data Studio is part of GMP, correct?
Marketing.
Yeah.
But what? So we have this kind of API. So, but what would be maybe cool things you can add to this API? So, for example, what we sometimes mention is copying reports and copying data sources. Because, for example, if you have some kind of a template for a starting point for some kind of a dashboard, and you just maybe want to select some other data sources or something, then you can maybe and if you can click with one click, you can then say, okay, this report, I want a new copy of it. Maybe you can already also exchange the data sources in some kind where you then have the the data source in Data Studio, or even better, the BigQuery project dataset table, and that would be really cool. Maybe also to already copy, or if you're creating a new dashboard, already setting some themes stuff, for example, or creating new pages with the title. If you can something like that automatically, that would be cool.
I mean, we are an agency, right? We have probably different ways to work with Data Studio than a company, that we have to say. But yeah, for us it would be, and for other agencies, for other like people, would be probably really good.
But I mean, yes, for an agency, but I think a BI team within a company could use Data Studio for, I mean, of course, there's like this vague line that probably also Google is not interested to incentivize people to use this as a fixed tool within it. But it feels like there are just a couple of steps there that would make sense, that also internally, as a BI team in a company, it also would be super useful to have this.
I'm also always think about, but yeah, I'm not sure. So because we always at least think that
Always thinking about Data Studio.
that Data Studio is HTML based and so on. And maybe it would be also cool at least to adjust some parts of the HTML directly, if it would be possible. So then you can also maybe do some tricks there. I don't know how good it is possible. I also don't know which crazy stuff they're doing in the background and how much it is basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript, whatever. Yeah, but at least to also get the code of it and maybe also change it and upload it again, or I don't know.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Probably Google is not interested in sharing it.
Maybe yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I also think so.
They
But
should do it. They
Yeah.
should do it.
But maybe connecting through the API, now you're mentioning themes and everything, and with this idea of having shared folders or something, I think a constant source of frustration is not having themes that you can replicate so easily, no? That you can save some, create a new template or something, but I think the sharing part can get a bit tough when you're making. I think we end up just duplicating dashboards to keep the consistency.
It's the way to go at the moment.
Yeah.
So when you're creating a new dashboard, so a blank new report, then you have, or you should then at first creating some kind of a theme, because then all of your table charts you are creating then always align to that theme with report, with background, with font size, font type, and so on and so on. And you have some kind of default or templates from the Data Studio, from Google. So for example, something like a dark mode a report and a lot of other report templates. Yeah, and you can customize it. And it would be good if, for example, for every customer, or I don't know, for every departure or whatever, to then also have some kind of a theme you can always select. But as you said, also copying the report is possible.
Yeah, and also the color selection, the theme is really, let's say, not that intuitive.
It's a little bit buggy.
Be done
now,
way
like,
better. Yeah.
I have the feeling that quite often I'm using a theme and I'm using tables, and for whatever reason I create a new chart or something, and then I see colors that have nothing to do with the theme or nothing that in the elements, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, because you have the main elements and then you have the dimensional colors, and this is basically then
These
colliding a
dimensional
little bit,
colors,
and
but then
it's not clear basically.
Yeah, but then you go to the style section, and the color that is shown in the color box is not the color that is shown in the dimension. Like, okay, once you know that is
because of the dimensional colors, right?
So you just need to click on it and click on it again and see what's in there. But yeah, the whole management of themes and having the API, I think that would make maybe a more advanced use.
Even due to the fact I know about how basically the whole templates and themes and coloring is working, I always have to check, and I have to look when I change that, how that exactly works every time all over again, because it's not that intuitive, I would say.
Yeah. So then maybe one other missing feature from my side is, for every chart, for every table, you can also add the date range comparison. So for example, so we mostly choose previous period, I think. So for example, if you say, okay, I show in the table or in the chart the last 30 days, then you can add a date range comparison, for example, to a time series chart, and then it shows in one line the data of the last 30 days, and then in the other line the data of the previous last 30 days. So yeah, but when you select them, for example, the whole year, then you also get the data of the previous year. So, and it would be cool also if the user can also choose the date range comparison by itself.
Absolutely.
Something like also the same as the date range filter. So not just, so that you have an additional filter for this comparison.
This is heavily needed, and it needs to be part of the date range filter itself. It should not be another filter. It should be the date range filter with additional optional checkmark, hey, use date comparison, right? And then it's basically available, or it's activated for all the different tables and charts. And maybe inside the tables and chart you have then disable the general
Yeah.
date selection or override it, as it is also with the date range. There you can also override the normal date range filter,
Yeah.
right?
But I get the feeling that this is one of the points that I lose track of more often when I see a dashboard. Like when I see a dashboard that I didn't build, I'm quite quickly, I need to go to the edit mode
Mhm.
and check on these deltas and see, okay, which one is previous period, which one is previous year, and go through it. Because I've made a mistake before of having different comparison periods, and it's not clear. Also,
You
need
need
to go through it.
to. I think you need to name your KPIs. When you have
But it's
when you
not-
have the time comparison, is then a new KPI added? I mean,
no, it just shows delta percentage,
delta percentage. Okay.
and that I
Yeah,
mean
good,
it,
that's- that-
it
that's
makes
shit,
sense
yeah.
in many ways. No,
And you
when-
cannot rename, right?
No, I think no.
No, ah.
But when you have just a scorecard, there's also just there's no text
Ah.
there, no.
Mm.
So we added for in some cases in which the two of them are needed for whatever reason, that in the same page you're showing previous period and previous year, we have been adding sometimes like a text, just PY,
Yeah.
double P,
Yeah.
just to show that the person sees, okay, this is what. But ideally, there should be a smoother way to
Definitely,
handle
yes.
this.
What happens if you have a time series, for example, and you select this month, right? Then you have the not issue. It's a good thing that you have the whole month, and the data is only if today is the 9th of the month, then the data is going to the 9th, and then the rest is of course missing, yeah, because it's this month.
Mhm.
If you then select previous period, is it then
It
the
shows the full
last
month.
month?
Yeah.
It shows the full month,
Yeah.
and the current month is then ending at
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. But that is nice. I think
Okay.
that's
Yeah, that's good.
also for showing comparisons across large
Because this
periods
is one
time.
of the really good comparison dates when you say this year or this month, and then it's
And you see
ending
where it's
somewhere,
trending, yeah.
but the trending line of the previous period is there. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, for example, what I also comes into my mind some seconds ago is this whole part of data labels. So, for example, overlapping data labels. So yeah. So in your chart, you can have in bar charts, for example, you can have then for every bar also the number or the amount of the metric, whatever. You can show directly in the bar chart. And if you have a lot of data inside, a lot of bars, or if you have big KPIs inside, so big numbers, then it's quite quick that they are overlapping each other or that you cannot see them anymore. You cannot put something like shades behind, or you cannot say, okay, please align it in a way that it don't overlap and so on, maybe with drawing lines or I don't know. So there are
two things they can do, right? They can basically change the whole setting, the setup process, that you have more options available, or they just make it smarter, right? That would also improve the whole thing a lot. So if I know, okay, there's a stack chart to 100%, and I have 60% and 37%, and then I have basically 20 options with less than 1%, and I don't need to show those numbers, right? Because I know immediately that it will be a mess. So this need to be solved in a smart way, that I then say, okay, the rest is here, like nearly 2%, and done deal, because you're not interested in 0 point something percent if you cannot read it anyway.
But here also, so just quickly to say again, Data Studio already improved it in terms of the compact numbers. You can already add. So before,
but this is the width, right?
Yeah.
Not the
exactly.
how
Sure. Absolutely. But just in terms of the overlapping. So before, if you have 1 million revenue, then it shows also every number of the revenue. And now you have then just 1M or whatever. So that's at least better.
So I think before we continue on that, so I think both legends and labels go hand by hand, and when you're building a chart, and I miss flexibility on that, not just how you're showing elements, but also like when you show on the legends or labels, depending how to say it, on the side. Sometimes it's truncated, and you make the text size even smaller, and it still shows like the ellipsis dot, and it's like, just let me make it bigger just automatically, and also the the text on the axis sometimes is cropped and it behaves automatically, and sometimes I would like it to be fixed, because I just want the month with the year to show always completely, but then sometimes it's cropped. It's like, yeah, then it's pointless to show if it's always cropped, but I don't have any way in Data Studio to tell always show this fully. And it would be nice. I would like to click a check mark for this. You're saying.
Okay, should we? Yeah. So maybe one quick thing I also sometimes, or what would be sometimes cool.
It's never a quick thing.
Is something like a case when for the user. So one quick example. You have one thing. You have, for example, assignment from discount codes, for example, to a group of discount codes, and you have maybe just 3-4 discount codes, but they change, right? And then you don't want to show, because in the data maybe you just have the discount codes of the order or something, but then in the dashboard you want to show better names for the discount codes. Then maybe you have a G sheet, you can put it inside Data Studio, but then you have to blend data. It's always already not so good. Or you can also put it into your the BigQuery ETL or whatever, and then show it in Data Studio. So that's a way. But would be also cool, especially for filters or something, where you just have to a really easy case when, where you say, okay, when that value, then it's that name, that value, that value, that value, then that's name. There is some kind of these parameters, what you can do in terms of input. But then I think you need to use these, not sure how it is called, the inline queries or something when you have the connection to BigQuery, where you then put in your ETL inside Data Studio.
The custom queries.
So then you can use these kind of parameters to filter, for example, different data for different dimensions and so on. But it's also not so complex as it would be.
That's really a question. I'm not super sure if I would agree, because that's then exactly the point where we usually say don't put business logic inside Data Studio, right? Because I know what you mean. It's sometimes pain in the ass, but I would probably still put it to BigQuery, because there then let's say the rule and also the transformation is at the right place. The only problem with that is the analyst or the customer or the employee inside the department cannot change it themselves, right? And this is probably what you mean, right? So it's not easily changeable that they say, okay, I would like to have it grouped a little bit different way. But can you not do that via the custom dimensions or
custom field? Yeah, that you can do. But then, work, right? Really, so I think a case when, or maybe an easier thing than a case when, can do everybody, so everybody understands it, and then some kind of a text field, interaction field. I don't know.
But they need to have edit rights then, right?
Yeah. But maybe also in view rights, something like a filter approach. I don't know. But just as a hint or something like an advice.
I think I jumped into your topic of data labels. Were you going to cover more?
No, that was fine. So just to quickly say it, I think then we have already mentioned some topics.
Yeah, but I think anything else from missing features?
So we can do 3-4 more videos about it.
Probably yes.
Yeah. I think there are more elements there, and we keep finding. The interesting part for me is always both on the visual part and then on the data management part. There's always elements there to be done. And just to say it again, I think it's very encouraging to see that there's always changes to be made. And if someone would like to keep up to date to these changes, I think the best way, Alex?
Yes. So maybe when that video is coming out, maybe we have already the new published blog post about the new features. So which is coming now in the next days for us, for the recording date.
We do that once per month,
exactly,
say, right?
Exactly.
Data Studio, BigQuery, and also Google Analytics GTM is normally coming out. I thought at the beginning every week, but sometimes it's also during the week, right? Just when they announce something. And what we do is we write together one blog post, or Alex in that case, once per month, where we basically summarize everything, that you have a monthly update. what basically happened.
And we did it already, a conclusion or a summarize for last year in the video. I also maybe think about to do it, so for sure we do it this year also.
Yeah.
But also maybe maybe not for the full year at the end of the year. I would maybe do it for every quarter or for every half year, I don't know. Because I think last time the video was 45 minutes or something.
A rooftop sunset session.
Yeah. So so we will
this
also
we
do it
in July.
Yeah.
Wait for it.
So we will also do it in the videos again. So ads, LinkedIn, we have a lot of posts there. YouTube, subscribe to our channel and watch the other videos, check out the other playlists. That's it, I would say.
Perfect. The datadice newsletter.
Oh
Also,
yeah.
yes,
Datadice
Substack.
newsletter. Yeah. So every week, end of the week, right?
Exactly.
We're sending out one newsletter with cool data visualizations and data analysis from different posts and so on.
Check it
Great
out.
idea from our team, we have to say.
Link to subscribe down in the description of the video.
Yes.
It's getting more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
In some weeks, the ending of every video will be half of the video itself, probably.
Good.
Hopefully not.
Then thanks for watching and see you in the next video.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.